Hello, my name is Bob Rutledge. I am a digital marketer, Google partner, been designing websites and marketing for small business contractors now for almost 12 or 14 years, and before that I was doing it for myself. If you're suffering through these times right now, this may be the video for you to listen to. And either way though, I want you to subscribe to the videos. There will be some nugget of truth in here and in other videos that I do that will help you market your business better. And all of it's going to be done at no charge to you. So it's just stuff you can learn and apply to your business. Alright, today is mid-March and we're in the middle of this coronavirus thing, and a lot of you are very depressed. You've made a lot of business plans that are just probably not going to come true right now. But I want you to put perspective on this. There is a time when you need to sit down and just reevaluate everything you're doing. And this could be God's way of just saying, hit the stop button, at least hit the pause button. We're going to take time and plan for the future in a logical way instead of just running into it head on. Bigger is not always better. Just a few weeks ago, the news was that Delta Airlines gave out more than $1 billion worth of bonuses. And then now they're laying people off. Boeing, one of the biggest employers, innovators, they made some bad business decisions, and they started paying the price for it long before the coronavirus came along. And now, I hesitate to say what's going to happen to Boeing now. I thought they didn't have a chance before. I really don't think they have a chance now. But along with the death of one company will rise other opportunities for people, because those planes are going to get built at some point. Air travel is here to stay. It's not going to go away. I was listening to just to let you know that there's room for optimism here. I was watching a video, and I highly recommend it. It's I think it's called Valuetainment. You might want to look him up. The guy's done a couple of coronavirus videos. He's done many videos that kind of examine the markets over the years, examine political situations, examine international tensions, and the guy seems to always make a lot of sense. I think he's Iranian born. His name escapes me now, but doesn't matter. But what he would probably say for a small businessman to do. Now I'm talking right now to the contractors that have one or two trucks that are trying to grow. They're in a market where it just seems like they're getting dominated by the really big contractors that are able to advertise on TV and the radio and buy the spots on in Atlanta. They're able to name baseball stadiums after themselves, and that's just not in the realm of what you're going to be able to do. But I think that the way this is all going to break, it's going to dramatically favor smaller contractors. But the problem with being a small contractor is it's hard for you to move the needle. It's hard for you to make enough noise out there so that when people do need your service, do need your product, they'll recognize your brand name and pick up the phone and give you a call. So that's where this might be a time that you want to get on the phone, go down to the warehouse, sit around for a few hours, start meeting some of your competition. Guys that run one or two trucks that do essentially the same thing you do. They're not your enemy. Now, if you've been competing against them all these years, you've probably been seeing who could do it for $1 cheaper. You need to stop that. You need to take this time to re-examine your marketing plans, form alliances, and come up with a strategy to where you can start working for more than just a living. I'll never forget. I mean, I have a degree in engineering, just to tell you a little bit about my life. And I had a great job. I worked down at the nuclear power plant for Georgia Power, getting paid great. But I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't know how, and didn't have the tools, and also didn't have the economy. When I made my first foray into entrepreneurship, I thought I could build timber frame and log homes. It was 1985, and I believe the interest rates were 17%. So, needless to say, when I went bankrupt, I had to get in line behind some good old boys that had been building houses all of their lives and all of their daddy's lives. It was just not the right time to be doing that. But it also, the tools weren't available. A little guy then could not market against a big guy. He couldn't, this was back in the day when radio and TV and billboards worked. And there was no way a little guy like myself could do that, as much as I tried. Nowadays you have the internet. You can advertise down to the zip code. You can advertise on extremely small budgets, but if you'll form alliances, you can make those budgets go a lot further. And so I'm talking about alliances in that you guys need to sit down and form an LLC that becomes a marketing company for your services. Plumbers, you need to join up with heating and air guys. Electricians, you need to join up with the plumbers and the heating and air guys. You need to put together your own business and market it under a brand name, not Tom Smith's Electrical, but a brand name. Well, in Atlanta you have Cool Ray. I mean, when you have Cool Ray, you know exactly what you're talking about. R.S. Andrews in Atlanta is another big one. Everybody knows the name R.S. Andrews. ST's Heating and Air is no longer ST's Heating and Air, it's ST Services. Well, y'all need to get together and form a XYZ Home Services and start marketing that under that banner and start working together instead of separately. But I digress. So let's go back to my story. Who am I? Why would I know how to build a business? 20 years ago, I started selling nutritional supplements, and I was selling them to mom and pop pharmacies up along I-40 in North Carolina and making a darn good living at it. I watched how the market played out with a particular competitor of mine, and then I saw the circumstances duplicated again. And that's what I'm telling you right now. The market circumstances is repeating itself. Yes, things are going to tank for a while, but guess what? They're going to come back out of this explosively. I don't care who you're listening to. All you got to do is go back and look at the swine flu. Every one of these pop back. And there's going to be people fall by the wayside because of it, and that's a good thing. You're not the one that's going to fall by the wayside. You're going to actually prosper from this. So coming out of that bad experience of building houses, I started selling vitamins. As the vitamin business grew, this thing called the internet started coming along, and I started selling on the internet, and I was one of the very first ones. In fact, I'll give you a little, this is how long I've been in the business. Google didn't even exist. Yahoo was the #1 search engine. You talk about somebody really losing the opportunity. Yahoo was the biggest search engine. Heck, it might as well have been the only search engine. You had AOL.com that provides some news, but Yahoo was the only search engine, and we advertised nutritional supplements on it and made a fortune. I say we as my wife and I, and this was back in the 1990s. We were spending $30,000 a month working out of my bedroom at the house, but we were making $60,000 a month and thought it would never lose. Never go away. But it did. After a while, this thing called Google comes along, people discovered they could advertise anything and everything instantly on the internet instead of having to go through magazines that took 3 months or produce commercials for television and print ads and things like that. They could get directly to the customer and get it there and fast, and then tweak the ad and and make sure it worked. Do some A/B testing. So at that point, I had to start generating leads organically. And the way I did it back then is I built a lot of microsites. There was a time that I owned 300 different domain names. And those domain names centered around weight loss at first, and then around dentistry, because my first clients outside of myself were dentists. Then I started doing plumbing, and then heating and air conditioning, and electrical. And now I have fence contractors and painting contractors that I work with. But that's how I started. Was I could get any website ranked in the top of the search engines back when it was worth being ranked at the top of search engines. Nobody clicked on the paid ads. Fast forward to today, you could be number one for any service you might provide, and people are not going to scroll that far down to find you. Try it. Look it up. Pause this video. If you're a painting contractor, type in painting contractor near me. If you are a lawyer, if you're a heating and air contractor, type in AC repair near, and don't even have to put near me. And you're going to find that the first organic traditional result is 2/3 or 3/4 of the way down the page. No one scrolls that far. In fact, the old saying when in newspapers, I put up all my newspapers. I was on the front page of the newspaper, of the Atlanta Journal and Constitution one time, and I was above the fold. Had I been below the fold, nobody would have ever known I was in the newspaper. So, like I was going to say, if you committed murder or whatever, nobody would ever know it if it was printed below the fold. So, it doesn't do any good to be that low on the search engines. What counts today is your maps listing. What counts today is being small, because the maps listing is really only built around where your office is geolocated, where you are actually located, and so therefore a small guy has equal chance of going up against the big guy in that one organic category. Now, if you want to expand outside your geo-targeted area, you're going to have to do pay-per-click advertising. Facebook is coming along. But if you're going to do pay-per-click advertising, you can't afford to only build your business off of search terms that define the service that you're trying to do. For instance, plumbing. You can't. The search terms in large cities is so expensive per click, you'll never make a profit off of doing it that way. So what you need to do then, and this goes back to forming the alliances. Again, this is a good time to start redefining how you do business. When you form an alliance, you come up with a brand name. When you come up with a brand name, you will find that as time goes on, people start searching for your brand name. So, let me give you a for instance. Bill Smith and Tom Jones get together and form Alliance Home Services. Alliance Home Services. There's probably one out there. I apologize. Didn't mean to infringe upon your branded name. But there's probably, let's just call it Deep South Alliance Home Services. Maybe there's not one of those. And so Bill and Tom are over in Pensacola, let's say, and they build up a good business, and now they expand over to Mobile. And people have heard of Alliance or Deep South Alliance in Pensacola. They start looking for it in Mobile, and bam, they look up their brand name, which is a very cheap. Well, first of all, you're going to rank for it organically, and then second of all, if you advertise under that brand name, it's going to be a very inexpensive brand name to advertise under. So that's why it's important for you to form an alliance and build up your business with like-minded entrepreneurs as yourself, and and be able to build your brand across a region. So let me go back to what happened to me. So I sold vitamins on the internet, wound up expanding into doing dentistry websites, selling the leads from those. Back then I could get any website ranked anywhere I wanted it ranked. For instance, I was #2 in Dallas, Texas. Here I was in Atlanta at the time living and working, but I had the #2 website for AC repair in Dallas, Texas. And those days didn't last long because Google went to verifying your address and making sure that that was the legitimate official website of that business. But the skills that I learned how to do that now, still I parlay them to this day. I get your website ranked organically as well as it can be in the search engines. You build up your brand name by doing pay-per-click advertising, but also display advertising. You continue to build your brand through Facebook advertising. And you can do it in small incremental amounts till you build up a true recognizable brand name. It's certainly not going to happen overnight, but again, this is the time for you to be making plans that way. So when we get off this video here, my suggestion to you is, first of all, hug your family, tell them you love them, show a stiff upper lip, as they would say. We're going to make it through this. This is not a time for weak, mealy-mouthed people, especially men that run these businesses for the most part. There are a few women out there, and God bless you. But the men that are running these businesses and responsible for other families being fed because they're in this business, you've got to show that we're going to come through that. Now, discover the facts on your own. Please, read through the CDC website. You'll see that this virus is going to have a bump, and then we're going to go through the summer. It's going to have a bigger bump. Be prepared for that. It's going to come. But after that, we'll have an immunity to it. And probably this Corona-19 will be with us forever to a certain degree. And then there will be another flu. There will be another avian flu. There will be another swine flu. There will be my biggest. I'm not even going to go where I think that where the situation could go, but the issue is you need to be prepared for it and not be shocked by it and not be rattled to the ground by it. America depends on you to be a strong individual. Small businesses are going to prosper through this because guess what? We don't get together in big groups. There's just 2 to 4 or 5 of us at any one time, and that's a pretty good size plumbing or heating and air or whatever company. And by the way, with the tools that are available out there, I wouldn't even have an office. I'd be meeting on Google Meet or Zoom or GoToMeeting every morning. I'd have my coffee and today's working orders over the internet to begin with. So in that regard, this is going to be awesome. It's going to force people to learn how to use the technology that is out there. And I know that I do, and if any of y'all have any questions about that, just give me a call. I'll tell you all about it. But there are just more efficient ways of running a business than having an office somewhere. And that's one of the ways you need to re-examine your business is, do I really need this big office? I mean, I'm operating out of my house. I've operated out of my house now since 1990-something, the early 1990s. And I've done well for myself and my family. And by the grace of God, I hope I will continue to do well. But it doesn't require expensive office space. In fact, I left the big city. I left Atlanta and moved down here to Foley, Alabama. And, I'm essentially out in the middle of a cotton and cornfield right now. I'm in a neighborhood, but around us, they still grow corn across the street. And it's wonderful to not have that burden of traffic and mass panic by great large groups of people. But I digress. Anyway, I'm hoping you're hanging in there, guys. I'm saying a prayer for you. If there's individuals out there that need prayer, certainly get in contact with me. I'll pray for you. I would covet your prayers that I make the right decisions, because I'm always changing and re-examining my business. And this is as big a time of change and re-examination for me as it is for you. God bless and good luck.